Although the Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank of Nigeria has kept the policy rate at the current level since July 2016, FSDH Research believes maintaining the rate is still advisable. The report expects the CBN to continue to use the sales of government securities to manage inflation expectations and exchange rate stability. The research report is also of the view that developments in the global economy do not support strong growth in the price of crude oil. Therefore, Nigeria's ability to generate revenue and foreign exchange may be constrained in the short term. Well, I had an exclusive interview with the Minister of Finance, Zainab Ahmed, over the weekend. She provides answers to some of these questions as this report throws up. First is, when will Nigeria achieve the much talked about inclusive growth?
It is true that Nigeria's economy still has a GDP that we are hoping to grow. But you will note, if you look at the details of the growth, that the growth is not largely dependent on revenues from oil. That the larger proportion of the growth is actually contributed by the non-oil sector of the Nigerian economy, and that is what we seek to achieve. What we want is a growth that is diversified, that is inclusive, and sustainable. And on the point of inclusiveness, we are deploying this very ambitious social investment program to make sure that when the country grows, that the growth is inclusive, in the sense that many people are pulled out of the current very poor situations that they're in, and they're leading better lives.
Now, another issue that came up was the forex market. There's been a little bit of stability. Now, the synergy, many say there's no synergy between the fiscal side and the monetary side. And that's actually affecting other issues, including forex market and some economic challenges that we face. How are we trying to working to make sure that there is synergy between both parties?
We're working very well together with the monetary authorities, to the extent that we planned the ERGP, and one of the first priority of the ERGP was to achieve macroeconomic and monetary policy consistency and stability. That the foreign exchange market is now stable is because we have been working together at the level of the economics management team. The central bank governor is a member of the economics management team. We meet every week, and this meeting is chaired by His Excellency the Vice President, and CBN is represented either by the governor himself or one of his deputy governors. So we have been working well together. They look at what our policies are, and also we have been invited also to some of their monetary policy meetings so that we exchange information. Great.
Now, the ERGP, which you mentioned now, beautiful documents, beautiful projections. How realizable is this?
The ERGP has proven to be a success. The 5 key execution priorities, on each of them, the trend from where we started to where we are now and where we're going is a positive one. Like I said earlier on, we have achieved macroeconomic stability in terms of the stabilization of the exchange rate. We've also seen interest rates coming down with a number of special programs that have interest rates even below 10% offered by the CBN through commercial banks, and also by Bank of Industry and Bank of Agriculture. And we continuously are working to enhance the performance of the TSA, the Government Integrated Financial Management System, GIFMIS, as well as the IPPIS. The ARGP also committed to ensuring agriculture and food security. And we can beat our chest to say we have succeeded in that regard. Agriculture has been the major push of growth in this economy today. We specifically targeted to become self-sufficient in rice production by the year 2018, and we have succeeded in doing that. We used to import rice into this country. Now imports have dwindled down to something like 5% of the previous imports that we used to have. We used to eat a lot of foreign rice. Now rice is produced in Nigeria, is milled in Nigeria, and Nigerians are actually using Nigerian rice. We also made a target to be self-sufficient in maize production and in wheat. Maize was supposed to be, the target is 2019, and we're inching closer to that target. Today, we're not only producing maize for Nigeria, but maize is being exported to our neighboring countries. We also want to become self-sufficient in wheat production. The target for that was also 2019, but that has slipped lightly, and now it's been adjusted to 2020. So that all the bread we eat, that the wheat is produced here, processed here, and then we don't have to continue importing bread.
Let's briefly look at the debt, managing debt now. Many are saying that, well, the argument is that we haven't gotten to the threshold, we can still borrow. Tell us, how have we been, what have we been doing with funds, borrowed funds? How have we been managing it?
Let me step back by saying that we designed the ERGP to enable us pull the country out of recession by spending our way out of recession. And we had to do this by borrowing, because revenues, remember, from the major revenue earner at that time, the oil industry, was down. That is why we went into a recession in the first place. So the only way we could get funds, and funds to be channeled to capital projects, specifically infrastructure, was to borrow. So we set out to borrow from both the domestic market as well as the international capital market. But then the ERGP, if you look at it, also said by the third year, the borrowing will begin to decline. And if you look at the proposal of the 2019 budget, the borrowing for proposed 2019 budget is less than what we had provided for in 2018 as well as in 2017. So we are following this ERGP very closely. We have a revenue challenge. That is the weakest point we have right now. So the problem we have is not that the debt is high, but that the revenues are low, making debt service appear to be onerous. But we have been able to service our debts 100%. The budget was designed for debt service to be at 25% of revenue. But because revenue is underperforming, it goes up to about 50% of revenue. This means some other expenditures take a hit because of that.
Let's look at the budget. How well we implemented 2018 and 2019 now. Already, price of crude, we can't control that. It's a global issue. We had a cut even by talking about OPEC and all of that. How do we intend to manage all of this with 2019 budget?
There's a significant fiscal risk that we face, and we know that. When the president submitted the budget, he did say to the National Assembly that we had priced the crude oil at $60 per barrel. But we are also closely watching the market, because we have seen the prices come below that $60 per barrel. But all the studies of global groups that are specialists in predicting oil prices put the average price in 2019 to be 65. So we stick to the 60, but we watch the market. If we have to adjust, because the budget is still before the National Assembly, we will consult with the National Assembly and make an adjustment. But right now, we're still confident that the price will pick up and the year will average at $65 per barrel.
A lot of projections for the year, 2.1, 2.3, World Bank. Now, you are the active players. What is the projection? What do you think? What kind of growth do we expect this year, even as we get into election?
2019? Our projection is very clear. We will close the year at 3.01%. That is our projection. We've seen the projections made by the IMF and the World Bank, and we respect very much the work that they do, but they don't have all of the information that is available to us locally. There's a lot of work that we've been doing over these 3 years, and this is the time that all the work begins to manifest. Let's
touch on reducing poverty in this part of the world. Many have been talking about it. We are now ahead of India. So what is government doing to make sure this is addressed?
You know, the last Human Development Index report that was released by the World Bank was a wake-up call for us. It was a sorry point, because it means we have a lot of people that are suffering. But let me say that the data that report was used to prepare did not take into account the social investment program that we're implementing now. Recall that we started the implementation only in the last quarter of 2016, and it was a very slow start. But it soon ramped up in 2017, and in 2018 it has also continued to grow, and we have targets to continue to multiply and grow the numbers. So the next time such a report will be done, Nigeria's performance will be so much greater than what has been reported at this time. And I hope that we will outshine and beat India as well.
Okay, as we already talked about moving on in 2019, yes, how do we intend to attract investments? Yes, making the environment very conducive. That's on the final note, so that investors can come in, and because we need funds from them.
You know, we've done quite well in improving the ease of doing business, but that was at the federal level and with 2 pilot states. We're working with the states to expand this to all the states, replicating the effort that has been done at that pilot. And also, we're improving the trade facilitation. The national single trading platform, the single window, is going to be taken off soon. It's a platform where all the trade facilitation agencies within the port system will use a common platform where you as an importer can go in and sign up and upload all the data regarding your inputs, and every agency will use the same data instead of you going to several agencies following. So we are going to do some standardization of processes, and you submit at one point and everybody does their work and you have your outcome very quickly. It will hasten the speed at which port business is done. It will reduce the timeline, of course, and it will also reduce the cost and reduce the propensity for people to be exploited in the ports.
Well, you heard it all from her, the Minister for Finance, there, reeling it out, projecting 3.01% growth at the end of 2019. And also talking about the global index, saying that some figures and some factors were not considered when coming up with that data, talking about the social investment program, the school feeding program, and all of the efforts being made by this administration. She talked a lot about economic issues and still believes that even the price of crude will average around $60 to $65 across, that's for the year 2019.